people are in deep relationship with their native bees. As you've heard today, the honeybee that we have here, the honey we put in our tea, that's a bee that was imported about 400 years ago by the Europeans. So it's not a native honeybee, but there is a native honeybee to the Americas. It's a tropical stingless bee. And so today I'd like to talk about the relationship of the bee and the plants, and the bee and the people. And let's think about why you might come into sacred relationship with an insect. And we'll talk about that more today. You all know that bees are a keystone species. So about 90% of wild flowering plants require a pollinator. And Stephen, check me, about 90% of the pollinators are bees. So bees are really doing the heavy lifting when it comes to pollination, and most of the bees also are endangered, and bees are, or at least threatened, and these bees are under threat for the same reason that all bees are. Pesticides are a really big deal. Climate change is a big deal. But what's happened in the Yucatan is that these little Mayan bees have lost their wild nesting sites because the Africanized European bees have taken over those sites in the wild. So not only all the other things that are affecting bees, but also the European bees have really taken a toll and brought the bee very close to the point of extinction. And projects like ours are making inroads in increasing those populations of bees. In the Maya language, the way you say Melipona is Shunenkab. The translation of Shunenkab is royal lady bee. In other words, sacred bee. The word kab, bee, and their word for world, kab, are identical. Literally, bees are their world. So they have a deep reverence and respect for the bees in the environment and in their cosmology. Okay, this is to orient you on where we're located. We are our project is in Valladolid, and Valladolid is in the Yucatan Peninsula. It's where the little red dot is. We're really close, about 20 miles from Chichen Itza, which is the famous Mayan pyramid. About half of Mexico's honey, Apis mellifera honey, is produced in the Yucatan Peninsula. So this gives you a concept of what rich floral sources there must be there to be able to make that much honey. Valladolid is the honey capital of Mexico. And as you're very aware, Asheville was the very first bee city, USA. So for a couple different reasons, Asheville and Valladolid have become sister cities. And one of those reasons is the honey and bee culture. Yeah, there we go. Cool. I'm more comfortable waggle dancing than speaking. So let's see. We're a three-part. We have a three-part mission statement. We are an environmental project. We're working to increase the populations of these endangered bees. We are a medicine project. The honey that's made by the bees, these little Mayan bees, is one of the most medicinal honeys on the planet. It's the #1 ingredient in Mayan healing remedies. So another reason, if we lose the bees, you've lost that medicine. And we are a cultural project. It's been documented, the Maya people have been in relationship with the bees for over 3,200 years. There was the image, that folded image is the Madrid Codice, which is one of the remaining Mayan books. We'll talk more in another slide about that. But about 20% of the Madrid Codice literally makes reference to this bee. The sacred names that you invoke when you talk to the bees, the days that are appropriate to harvest honey, the offerings that you make first to the bee gods before you take their honey, the songs that you sing to them. I bless your wings. I thank you for your work. So every step of the way with the interactions with their bees is considered relationship. So they aren't just looking at them as an insect. They're actually looking at them as a part of their family. Okay. Again, the sacred Mayan stingless bee, the bee is different from Apis mellifera in many ways. It's about half the size of a honeybee. It is a stingless bee, no stingers. It's a tropical bee. The hive nest is really quite different from Apis mellifera nests. The bees create little, actually, I have one. They make little honey pots that they store their honey in versus honeycomb. They also store their pollen in little honey pots. They are a buzz pollinator, which I've been the director of this project for 2 years, and I just found out from Dr. Buckman that they are buzz pollinators. They are the crucial and primary pollinator of the rainforest. So again, if we lose this bee, you lose the health and the vibrancy of the rainforest. Yeah, I'm repeating myself. They are buzz pollinators. They are an important pollinator for some of the food crops. The picture of the red plant is achiote. Achiote is the red spice that they make cochinita pibil. If any of you have had Mayan food in the Yucatan, the plant with the purple flowers is a balche tree. And the bees love that tree. When it's in bloom and you walk under it, you just hear the most glorious buzzing sounds. And then the Maya people from that tree make a drink also called balche that's made with the Melipona honey and the bark of this tree. And all Mayan ceremonies are required to have the balche drink there as an offering to the god. So again, if we lose this bee, then you've lost the ability to provide the balche drink. Excuse me, the balche drink. So again, you're losing an important part of the culture. I put the picture up of the pollen pot And that's the pollen pot cut in half, just as a visual cue on look how much pollen from a tiny little bee that this bee is collecting, and the picture of the bee just packed with pollen. So visually you can see what amount of pollination service that they're providing. Yes. Yeah. The actually, let me answer that when we're done, Stacia. Yeah, but that's a great question. Please ask me that at the end. National Geographic did an article 2 years ago. They called stingless bee honey the new miracle liquid. And the Maya people have known for thousands of years the healing, the ability of the Melipona honey. And actually, and as an aside, the Maya people also might not have access to pharmaceuticals, or they might not have money to buy pharmaceuticals, but they've always had the honey. They have done scientific studies. They took a study and they put 32 different kinds of bacteria, tested it in Melipona honey, and it killed all of those bacteria except one. It didn't kill Candida because Candida feeds on sugar. It also killed staph infection. So they've found that the honey can cure antibiotic resistant wounds. I mean, I don't like to talk about creepy stuff, but it's really extraordinary for healing. They also use it in their eyes. It cures conjunctivitis, pink eye. And if you do a meditation with the honey, it's possible to clear your pineal gland and activate your third eye. So some of the reasons why the healing is so potent why the honey is so potent for healing, it's got all the antis, which conventional honey has a lot of the antis, but this has them with higher medical constituents. The nectar sources of the honey are medicinal rainforest plant. So you've got the nectar sources, which is what makes Manuka honey effective. Manuka honey, which is Apis mellifera, those bees are foraging on a plant that's like a tea tree plant, and tea tree is very antimicrobial, antibacterial. So the nectar sources are really important. They are making the honey pots that they store the honey in. They go out and they collect tree resins. A tree makes a resin because it's healing its own wounds. That honey is then stored in that little honey pot, and it's also getting infused with the medicinal quality of the resin. So not only do you have the nectar and the honey that's healing, you've got this extra infusion. Because it's a tropical bee, it's hot there. The bees, in their infinite wisdom and alchemy, have also figured out how to add an antifungal component. And that is different from conventional honey. So the honey has all these antis, plus also the antifungal component. And by the way, we have honey for sale here today. And you can, we're also giving away taste. Dr. Buckman told me it's the best tasting honey he's ever had. So I love this part of this slide. So as I mentioned, we're an environmental, we're also a cultural project. So this is Dr. Gabby Vale. Dr. Gabby Vale 20 years ago wrote a research paper on the Madrid Codice, and specifically the parts of the Madrid Codice that talk about this Melipona bee. About 500 years ago, there was a massive book burning that happened close to where our project is in Mani, which is near Mérida. So the Spanish friars gathered all the Mayan books that they knew of, and they destroyed them all, including many of the priests who went into the Mayan priests, clutching their sacred books. That purge was so deep, they lost their ability to read their own language, which was the Mayan glyphs. And as you can imagine, it was devastating. There are 4 remaining Mayan books, and they are from the Yucatan. They got sent, 3 of them got sent to Europe, and they're named now for where they live. One's in Madrid, one's in Paris, and one is in Dresden. The Madrid Codice is the thickest of these books. They were books, you can see, so gorgeously illustrated on bark paper wrapped in jaguar skin. And this, of course, is a copy. And you can just see really how amazing the artwork is. And again, about 20% of the book is talking about the relationship of the bee and the people. So Dr. Gabby Vale is the world's foremost expert on the Madrid Codice as it relates to the Melipona bee. So Gabby and I were talking. She's a professor at the University of Florida, but occasionally will visit Asheville because of all things in Barnardsville, there is a Mayan Research Center. And that Mayan Research Center is owned by Dr. David Stewart. Dr. David Stewart's parents lived at the home in Barnardsville. They were both archaeologists also. Dr. Stewart, 40 years ago, is the man who's credited with cracking the Mayan code and figuring out this 500 years later, again, how to read the Mayan glyphs. So that shifted the world of archaeology, and it allowed Dr. Vale to do her research paper and go through the Madrid Codice and figure out what it said. So she was asking us, do they still do today those ceremonies that were illustrated in the Madrid Codice? And she gave me a copy of her research paper. We now have built 8 bee yards around Valladolid. And one of our latest bee yard builds is a Mayan linguist, and he approached us and said, please, I would love to have bees, but to build a bee yard costs about $3,500. Just one beehive is $300. That's just, it's monetarily out of reach for most people. And the Maya people are at the lower end of the socioeconomic ladder. So he said, as a linguist and a Mayan person, he would love to have bees. Could we help him? And we did. So last October, we built a bee yard for Alfredo Howe. And I was going down to visit, and I'm going to take him, Gabby's, because he's a linguist. I'm going to take him Gabby's research work, and I'm walking up to his bee yard. And as I'm walking up, this is, you have to build a structure to protect the bees. It's called a Meliponario. I'm walking up the hill and I see the Meliponario. They're lifting these palm leaves onto the roof. And I handed him this. He knew it so well. He opened the page literally to the Mayan glyph that illustrates a Meliponario with the palm leaves on the roof. I mean, it's what was written about 500 years ago is still happening today. And now Gabby is writing another paper about that correlation, the proof that the Mayan culture is still vibrant. So anyway, I'm like, dang, that was so damn cool. dang, that was so cool. Yeah. So this is the picture of what the brood nest looks like. It's a spiral pyramid. The Maya people will tell you that the bees taught them how to build the pyramids. And again, how beautiful they are. They're little honey pots. And these are the Melipona bees. They're a blue-eyed bee. I just love looking at them. The yellow is vibrant. Again, they're little bees. Yeah. Oh, and conventional bees, Apis mellifera, make about 50 pounds of honey a year-ish. But these bees are, again, they're about half that size. They only make about 2 pounds of honey a year. So the honey is made in small amounts and very precious and rare. And again, as we've lost the populations of the bees, the availability of that honey has also, it's rare. 2 years ago, it was a game. Yeah, I'm looking back at the slides are on the back wall too. 2 years ago, we were able to acquire 35 beehives, build the Melipona structure that is large enough to house 100 beehives, find a caretaker who is Maya, who has been in deep relationship with the bees, has the capacity to educate other people about the bees, and knows how to take care of the bees. So all of those factors coming together is a miracle, really. So now we have a central sanctuary that's right in town in Valladolid. Cesar Mai is our, come on in. Cesar Mai is our caretaker. When we harvest honey, the honey is coming from our own bee sanctuary. So the honey that we have on the table over there that we have on the website is coming from our hives. What it's allowing us also to do is to grow the bees. So we will once a year do divisions and increase the number of boxes. And when we have 5 additional boxes, we choose somebody to build a Meliponario for. So also the bees that we are giving out and consciously creating a pollinator corridor. So we are placing bees with Maya people out in Mayan villages, usually with women. And creating corridor, increasing the number of bees, continuing the culture as we build those meliponarios. We do it with the traditional Mayan ceremonies. And then our educator, as Stephen told me, call him the bee boss. I'm like, okay, our bee boss goes out and checks on the health of the bees, make sure the apprentices, our grantees, know how to take care of the bees. And so it's creating a relationship with our project and the beekeepers, and also within the community as well. So it checks lots and lots of boxes. This was our first apprentice, our first grantee. Her name is Consolation Cook, and she's in Tishkakukupul village. And Consul is, when she was young, she was very ill. And she said that it's the Melipona honey that saved her life. And she was very anxious to become a beekeeper. She was already making healing remedies, and she would have to buy the Melipona honey to use in her remedies. Consul is one of five. Her 4 other siblings all have disabilities, so it's fallen on her shoulders to take care of the entire family. And we just are so grateful to have found her. And she really is an incredible woman. She hadn't been outside her village until 5 years ago, and she's a very shy and quiet woman. And her 2 younger siblings actually are deaf, so it's quiet in the house too. And after she got the bees, well, she'd had the bees now 2 years. A year later, she organized women within her little village for National Women's Day and stood out on the street with a microphone and encouraged other women to have a voice. So just giving somebody a chance can make all the difference in the world. So anyway, I love her. This is Doña Salsa. When Doña Salsa was a young girl, her family had 200 hives. She was not allowed to take care of the hives. As a girl, at that time, girls weren't allowed around the bees. She said she used to put her hand on the bees and the bees would talk to her. So this many years later, she did have these ancient log hives that were her family's hives. And but she didn't know how to take care of bees. So one of her neighbors approached our project, and with the help of the Rotary Club this year, we were able to buy Doña Salsa 5 new log hives and rebuild her little meliponario. And this is another kind of strange thing. So Doña Salsa had been making hammocks. That's how she was earning a living. And there's a hammock mafia. So she would have to pay a cut of making hammocks to the hammock mafia. So with our project, she's somehow also being able to step away from that situation. Carlisle's giving me a wrap it up, so I'm going to move a little quicker. Some of the other women in our project. And again, now we have 8 bee yards. Our super fans, I mentioned Dr. David Stewart, the rock star of Mayan archaeologist, Dr. Stephen Buckman, the rock star of pollination ecologist. And Dr. Buckman has joined our team too. He's now our entomology consultant. Dr. Gabby Vale, the expert on the Madrid Codus. We won a Sister Cities International Award in culture and innovation. And we are the first Melipona group to come into alliance with the Mexican Department of Agriculture. They've recognized the important work that we're doing. So also, the Department of Agriculture is hosting monthly meetings in our bee sanctuary for any of the any Meliponario who wants to come and learn more information. And this is kind of the conclusion. You've heard the importance of pollination. Biodiversity is biosecurity. So this bee is the pollinator of the rainforest. And if we lose the rainforest anywhere on the planet, you know, that's a big impact. But our weather systems are impacted a lot by what's happening in the Gulf. So there are lots of reasons to care. We're an environmental project, we're a cultural project, and we're a medicine project with the honey. As it turns out, we've emerged as the English-speaking voice for the Melipona bees. There's lots of information in Mexico in Spanish, and we're helping bring this story out into the world. We are a 501c3 that we're working to make a difference, and we are making a difference. You can help by donating. You can purchase honey, and 100% of the honey sales goes back into the project to keep the project going. Go onto our website, mayanmeliponabee.org, and sign up for our newsletter. And we do have a Facebook and Instagram page too. And really quickly, the women in the project, and the children in the project too. The next generation is learning. This is an image of a guard bee, and you may have heard of Tulum, the Temple of Tulum, and the image above the temple entrance is Almuzan God, which is the bee god who stands over the temple entrance, guarding the sanctuary, guarding the sacred space, just like the guard bee guards the entrance of the hives. And these are our guys. Cesar and David are the managers who take care of everything down there. And I just got back, I think 3 weeks ago, and we're holding honey. We did a honey harvest, which is the honey we've got over here. That's actually, the bees make such little amounts of honey that we actually extract the honey with a syringe. So the beehives are about a shoebox size, and you can see Cesar is extracting honey. And again, we've got the honey available. And one more time, the word cob means bee and means world.